But less than 4 minutes into a game against the Orlando Magic, on the second night of a Florida back-to-back, they just played in Miami the night before, quick flights, or probably quick bus ride to Orlando to take on the Magic. Keep in mind, this is a Magic team that is fourth place in the Eastern Conference that isn't going to make a long playoff run just due to their youth, but we see Paolo Banchero, we see Jalen Suggs, Wagner. That team is coming. They got a very bright future ahead of them, and they play about as good a defense as anybody in the league. Very physical defense. So it's a big game for Golden State. In less than 4 minutes into the game, Draymond Green gets thrown out of the game. So we will show you the clip here. Draymond, at the start of this clip, Draymond has already picked up his first technical foul. He's arguing with the ref about a foul call on Andrew Wiggins. We'll show you right here. This is after he's picked up his first technical. He continues to argue to the ref. Okay, you see Steph come around there. He's like, okay, he's listening to the ref, and he's looking at Draymond. Hey, all right, buddy, come on. Let's back out of this. This isn't a battle worth fighting. And Draymond continues to argue. Warriors brass are kind of holding him back, and it's a timeout. Refs are walking away. Draymond's still going, still yelling. And right there, the Magic, 2, 3, 4 words, and he's gone out of the game. He's tossed. Here's the thing, though. You see Draymond, he's still yelling, going to the locker room. He was already walking to the locker room. Then they tossed him. That's what's wild. So Draymond knows he's getting ejected right there. So you see he leaves Steph. Steph's just standing there like, are you kidding me? We'll show Steph's reaction overall in just a second. But Draymond, and we know his history this year, right? The choke of Rudy Gobert, which I defended to a certain degree. He choked Gobert too long. That was the problem. But Gobert's going to choke Klay Thompson. Nah. Like, I defend Draymond there. Did not defend him in the situation with Nurkic. Unprovoked. Draymond just comes around, swings on Nurkic, clocks him in the jaw, and gets suspended for, I think it ended up being like 15 to 20 games. It was an indefinite suspension. He came back in mid-January from a game that was played in mid-December. So this is another incident in a must-win game for Golden State. I don't think it's unfair to say that with about 10 games to go in the regular season, you're trying to hold off a hot Rockets team and try and climb as high as you can possibly climb in the play-in standings and try and make the playoffs somehow, much less try and go on a run. Just get into the playoffs. So I've been a guy who's defended Draymond Green at length for really his entire career, and certainly in the duration of this show, about four and a half years, because I think his intelligence from a basketball IQ standpoint, as well as for his fire, his competitive fervor on a team that, not the Warriors don't want competitive guys. Steph's about as competitive as any guy in the history of the game. But, emotional, leaders of your basketball team. Draymond's sort of in the class with a Dennis Rodman to a certain degree, although I think Draymond can absolutely do more things on the court than Rodman could, although Rodman was, of course, one of the greatest rebounders and defensive players we've seen. But Draymond's value to the Warriors, it's why I took his side in the whole Jordan Poole incident. And we saw the fall of Jordan Poole that season. We definitely see it to an even greater degree here in Washington. I know he just had a 38-point game, but the Wizards are terrible. He's had literally no impact on winning whatsoever. And so clearly the Warriors made the right decision sticking with Draymond over Jordan Poole. But Draymond is in a position where he could very well end this dynasty. If it hasn't been ended already, I'm holding on the dynasty by a string. I've said often this season that there's a chance the dynasty may be over as currently constructed, but as long as you have Steph Curry in his prime, your dynasty's still going, as long as you can add other pieces around him. Here's the problem. He may drive Steph out of Golden State. And I'll explain why. I have talked about this for the last few months, that I'm a little nervous for the 2024 Olympics. Not in terms like Team USA winning. Listen, Team USA is going to win. That roster is loaded. I fear that Steph at the 2024 Olympics could be very similar to LeBron at the 2008 Olympics. Steph in Paris, LeBron in Beijing. I feel like this could be very similar. Because remember LeBron, hey, I'm Mr. Cleveland. And keep in mind, LeBron's much younger than Steph is now. LeBron was barely into his 20s. Steph is 36. But LeBron goes into Beijing. Man, I'm a Cavalier for life. This is home. Akron, Ohio, the kid from Akron, chosen one. This is my city. It's my home. Then he goes to Beijing and plays with Kobe and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Melo and Chris Paul, Dwight Howard, and he looks around, he's like, dang, so this is what it's like to play with great players. Yeah, this is a lot more fun than carrying Zydrunas Ilgauskas and, Anderson Varejao to the finals in 2007 and getting teams whose second best player is Mo Williams to a 60-win season. This is a lot more fun. Yeah. Maybe I'd consider this, go to Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, and that's ultimately what happened 2 years later. I want to show you Steph's reaction. Many have seen it, but if you haven't seen Steph's reaction to the Draymond ejection, we'll show you right here. This is right after Draymond's been tossed out of the game. Here you go. So Steph is this is 4 minutes of the game, mind you. Steph is just hand on knees. Oh my gosh, what's going on? Kerr's trying to console him. And you see Steph right here. He's literally wiping tears from his face. I showed this clip to my mother. My mom is, shout out to mom. I showed her this clip and she's like, Steph's crying. I'm like, are you sure? I don't think Steph's not crying. And I rewatch it like 30 minutes later at halftime. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's literally in tears. And it's funny, I just talked about Caleb Williams, like, the concern, he's crying in his mother's eyes. And I've said, give me an athlete who's moved to the point of tears because they lost as opposed to the apathetic one. Like, give me Caleb Williams over Ben Simmons any day of the week. Steph is so competitive, wants to win so bad. He's moved to the point of tears. And, mind you, game the Warriors desperately needed. In a game Draymond obviously wanted to be thrown out of, because, again, we'll show you one more time. Okay, so again, he's arguing with the referee. Steph's trying to break it up, yada, yada, yada. But just watch in about 10 seconds. Draymond uses the magic words that we are definitely not going to repeat on this show and certainly not on Good Friday, on Holy Week. But Draymond is going to walk away, say something, and then just turn around and continuously, it's coming up right here, magic word right there, walks away, then he's ejected. It's not he's ejected and then walks off. Draymond wanted to be thrown out of that basketball game in a must-win game for the Warriors. Thus, this from Steph Curry, who it's a dagger shot against the Magic. Here we go, step back, Steph being Steph, clutch player of the year, no doubt about it. And he night-nights the Orlando crowd in very animated fashion. You see his teammates there celebrating, and watch Steph. He's going to come around to the bench. He's high-fiving. Let's go. Dagger shot. We're going to win this game. He's going to walk to the bench, high-five Moses Moody, high-five somebody else, and, kicks 2 chairs over. I mean, he's like mad hyped. And it's like, this is a big game for the Warriors, but it is Orlando. Like, I know Orlando's good this year, but it is Orlando. This isn't Boston, the Lakers, Denver. This isn't a serious contender or a team you have a history with. It's the Magic, There's no history between Golden State and Orlando, at least from what I'm aware of. So I think that crystallized what Steph is thinking about. And that crystallizes why this is as selfish, and I love Draymond, but as selfish of an act as you could possibly have. And you're like, Bryson, man, the Warriors just need to move on from Draymond Green. They just need to get Draymond Green out of the building. That would be easy if Draymond wasn't impactful. And this is the part that's frustrated me. If Draymond was terrible, I'd say, Steve Kerr, just bench him. Just bench him. Don't play him. Move on from him after the season. Somebody will take him. Here's the problem. He's still really, really important. We'll show you the stats right here in terms of Draymond. Whether he finishes games, gets ejected out games, we'll show you the stats right here, okay? When Draymond plays a full game, the Warriors are 9 games over 500. They're 26-17. That's pretty darn good. They're 1-3 this season when he gets thrown out, and they're 11-14 when he doesn't play. You see the asterisk right there next to gets thrown out. Since 2019, the Golden State Warriors are 2-11 when Draymond Green gets tossed out of a basketball game. And keep in mind, 2019, that's part of the Kevin Durant era, okay? So that KD was there, 2-11 since 2019, when Draymond Green is thrown out of a basketball game. So he's still valuable. They're an exponentially better team when he's on the floor as opposed to when he's off it, which is what makes it worse. And Steve Kerr, I talked about this with the Warriors on Monday. Steve Kerr talked about when there was all this criticism, oh, Steve, why aren't you playing Steph more minutes? And Steve almost looked annoyed by it. He said, are you kidding me? Steph Curry has carried this franchise for 15 years, and I'm just going to run him into the ground before we even get to the play-in tournament? Are you kidding me? After all, he's made all of us richer. He's won all of us a bunch of rings. And that's how you want me to respond? Steve Kerr gets the bigger picture. From Steph's perspective, I think a reason why he was moved to the point of tears is because of how hard this season has been. And what I mean by that is Steph's thinking, okay, your job is just to be good at basketball, to impact winning for us at a high level. I wrote this down, the things that Steph and the Warriors have dealt with. I've had basically from Steph's perspective, I've had to merge a team with a bunch of veterans, Clay, CP3, Draymond, and a bunch of kids, Kuminga, Moody, Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis. Okay? I've had to manage Clay's decline. Now, Clay has been harder on himself than anybody's been on him. So it's been kind of a roller coaster with Clay. I'm in the starting lineup. Now I'm on the bench. Now back in the starting lineup. Can I get back to some semblance of what I used to be? Steph's had to deal with that and trying to have Clay in a good headspace. Andrew Wiggins has been a head case all season long. He was great in the win against Orlando, especially in the fourth quarter. Andrew Wiggins has been an 18-point-per-game guy his whole tenure in Golden State. Until this year, he's averaging 12 a game. He's not even close to the same player he used to be. Bob Myers left last season. Bob Myers is going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest executives in NBA history. Left. Mike Dunleavy Jr., I think, has done a solid job. I like the guy. He's not Bob Myers. One of our assistant coaches tragically passed away at a team dinner 2.5 months ago. I've had to manage all of this. Your job is just don't get thrown out of massive games that we need to win. That's Draymond's job. And Steph is looking at the perspective of, again, I've got all this on my shoulders. To quote Bill Belichick, just do your job. Just do your job. Don't get thrown out of meaningful games for us. And so I'm concerned, to go back to the Beijing point with LeBron. LeBron saw, man, playing with great players. Oh, this is way better being stuck in Cleveland with Mo Williams. Steph in the 2024 Olympics are going to play with a few guys by the names of LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid. Pretty good players. And given Steph's history, I've played in 6 finals. I've been in the playoffs and been on a bunch of deep playoff runs. You're telling me at age 36, I have to carry this group? Instead, I could I could go to Phoenix and play with KD. I could go to LA, play with LeBron. Kind of like a swan song together, right? To get our 5th and 6th championships together. You're telling me Steph wouldn't at least consider it? That's what scares me, is that if this Warriors season were to go up in smoke, and again, I am still clinging almost solely because I have Steph Curry on my basketball team, that maybe, just maybe, you could put together one more run with this group. I've all season long, I've been close, but I've yet to sell my stock on my Warriors. But if the season goes up in smoke, they lose in the play-in tournament. Heck, maybe they don't even make the play-in tournament. That Steph doesn't at least think about moving on. LeBron's got Anthony Davis. KD's got Devin Booker. Luka's got Kyrie. Tatum has Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis. Joel Embiid has Tyrese Maxey. Kawhi has Paul George. Nikola Jokic has Jamal Murray. Second best player on the Warriors is probably Jonathan Kuminga, and he's my age. Not Steph, not talking about from Steph's perspective, I'm talking about from my perspective. He's like 21 years old, 21 years old. He's a kid. He wouldn't think about it. Giannis has Dame. Here's what made it even worse. Just to crystallize how bad this was for the Golden State Warriors. You saw how hyped Steph was, right? When he was kicking chairs over, doing the night-night. The Warriors, or I think it was the Warriors Bleacher Report. I saw it on Bleacher Report's social media. Steph is walking to the locker room, and there's a tunnel full of Warriors fans. Let's go, Steph. High-fiving Steph. He's high-fiving them. Let's go. High-fiving other members of the Warriors organization. And at the hall stands none other than Draymond Green. Look at this video, and I'll sort of criticize it for those that are listening on the podcast, Spotify, Apple, otherwise. Steph, let's go. High-fiving fans, a bunch of fans in there, high-fiving them. Let's go. A bunch of people taking videos. Here's Draymond. You'll see Draymond right there at the end of the hallway doing the night-night. And Steph, you see Steph there. He's like the quick dap. It's like, you're standing right there, so I kind of have to dap you up. I'm not just going to walk past you, even though I'm probably really pissed off with you right now. That, to me, they call Steph and Clay the Splash Brothers, and that's appropriate. But Draymond and Steph are like brothers. They are close, man. Steph's kind of like the older brother, right? And Steph's an oldest child in his own life. Steph is, kind of measured, animated from time to time, as we saw in that picture, but in the video, but in general, pretty chill dude, right? Draymond, that's not off the court. He's a pretty chill guy, but on the court, well, we see who Draymond is. This, to me, is like, because often, again, athletes see their teammates more than they do their families because they're on the road with them so much, or practice, games, all that. This, to me, is the equivalent. Draymond's reaction to Steph after all that happened. Hey, Steph, big grin, night, what's up, man? And Steph just daps him up. Yeah, I'm out of here. That, to me, is the equivalent of if, like, a woman found out her husband was cheating on her and then, like, caught him in the act, and then the next day the husband sees her and says, hey, honey, how was your day? Just oblivious to, you think I'm just going to forget what happened? That, to me, was the Steph Draymond thing. Draymond gets tossed out of a massive game. Steph has to carry him at the end, bear the emotional weight of the Warriors franchise in that moment, and really all season long, because of your multiple suspensions. And Draymond's all smiles. Hey, all harm or no harm, all good. I can't imagine Steph loved it. And one more thing before we move on. A couple more things. Because this is, as a Warriors fan, man, this is really, and I love Draymond. That's my guy. But at this point in time, I think it's going to, if it wasn't already, and again, I've been more forgiving of Draymond than most. But Draymond can no longer claim that he's a great teammate. He's going to have to earn that back. I don't know how he's going to do it. I guess just not get ejected anymore. Draymond's second all time in ejections to Rasheed Wallace. I don't anticipate that happening anytime soon, but he's got to earn that back now. He can no longer say, I'm a great teammate, I'm team first. No, you're not. The Gobert thing I defended because you were defending a teammate. Your teammate was about to get chokeholded by a 7-footer. Draymond came in and kind of saved Clay there in a bit of a scuffle. But you punched Yusuf Nurkic unprovoked. We lost you for a month and played bad basketball in that month. You come back, we play really good basketball, and right when we're kind of teetering on the edge, that's when you choose to intentionally get thrown out of a game. He's going to have to earn that now. The last two things, and I'll be quick on these, I promise. I'm just very passionate about this. The last two things revolve around Steph. The first thing is something that Stephen A. Smith said in December, and Jay Williams alluded to others sharing a similar belief. Jay Williams, ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, obviously the face of ESPN. Jay Williams alluded to it yesterday on Get Up and First Take. That a lot of folks out there are questioning Steph Curry's leadership and hold on the Warriors franchise because of Draymond Green's actions. If that's true, and Jay Williams, because people are getting on Jay Williams, oh, you're saying Steph is a great leader. He said, no, Jay Williams said, I know Steph Curry's a great leader, but others who I respect say he's not. If that's true, that is the most immature basketball take I've ever heard in my life. So so Steph Curry's job, and he has many, on the Golden State Warriors. My job, be the best shooter, scorer, overall player, and leader for this team. My job is not to babysit. My job, when Draymond loses his mind, is not to somehow find a way to rein him in. If that is bad leadership by Steph for somehow not controlling another grown man's actions, then every player in the NBA is a bad leader. I'm sorry. Steph was in there trying to, again, we showed the tape. Steph, briefly, you see Draymond argue with the ref. Steph gets in there with Draymond. He's like, okay, yeah. And he kind of taps Draymond on the chest like, okay, come on, man. Come on, let's get out of here, man. Let's go. Come on, let's get out. So when Shaquille O'Neal showed up to training camp with the Lakers out of shape, was that Kobe's fault? Was that bad leadership by Kobe Bryant? Hey, big fella, why are you not in shape? No, Kobe's job is to make sure he's in shape. When Dennis Rodman was going to Vegas in the middle of seasons, was that a knock on Michael Jordan's leadership? This idea that Steph is all of a sudden a bad leader because of Draymond having multiple instances that Steph doesn't have a control in the locker room is absolute BS. And it's an unintelligent basketball take. Point blank. If you want to put some heat on the Warriors franchise because there hasn't been one big punishment of Draymond Green, be my guest. I don't have an issue with that. This idea that Steph has a portion, a slice of the pie of blame is nuts. And last point on Steph. And I did not think I'd ever say this. I really didn't. I thought that this was impossible, and it probably is impossible. If Steph Curry leads this Warriors team, and it's very unlikely, but leads this Warriors team to a championship, the door absolutely, undoubtedly has to open on him being in the GOAT discussion. I have Steph as the 6th greatest player ever. Above him, in order, 1 to 5, I have LeBron, Michael, we can argue about that another day, Kareem, Kobe, Magic. If he wins a championship this year, given all that's happened this season, Magic and Kobe, with all due respect, heck, I'm not sure Kareem ever won a championship with these odds stacked against them. It will be official. The debate will be between LeBron, MJ, and Steph. And Kareem will certainly have a seat at the table. Because being the greatest ever in any sport, in any walk of life, involves defying logic, history, and reason. This would be insane if he pulled this off. That's what I will leave it at. Thanks so much for watching the show on YouTube, and be sure to go click that big red subscribe button and check out the other clips and full shows from Carving It Up Live, as well as our other incredible content creators here on the Grid Network.